If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good, why is there so much pain and suffering in the world that we live in? And this question keeps seekers and skeptics alike away from the Christian faith. And perhaps nothing exemplifies pain and suffering more than disease caused by pathogens, viruses, and bacteria. And so the question is, why would God create bacteria and viruses? And I'm joined today by Dr. A.J. Roberts, who is a virologist, a molecular biologist, and a Christian to help answer this question. A.J., before we plow into this very difficult topic, maybe help us, what are viruses and bacteria exactly?
So in brief, bacteria are single-cell living organisms. They can actually reproduce themselves in a very short amount of time, sometimes 20 or 30 minutes, through a process called binary fission or asexual fission. And it basically means if you feed a bacteria the right nutrients, has the proper conditions for growth, that it can reproduce itself, like can reproduce like life. Viruses, on the other hand, they're not living organisms. They actually require living cells in order to make copies of themselves. They need the cell's machinery, they need the cell's energy, and they need some resources from the cells. They provide the blueprint to have more viruses made, but a virus can't actually reproduce itself apart from a living organism or a living cell. That's the major difference.
Okay, so then how can we make sense of viruses and bacteria in light of God's good creation? Maybe give us an overview.
Sure. So as a Christian who's thought about viruses for the last 20 to 25 years and how they fit into God's creation, as a graduate student, I primarily studied human pathogens. So I studied those viruses that were specifically related to human suffering. And I found it very difficult to imagine how a good God could create viruses that caused human suffering. And what I've realized as I've thought about it for many years is that we can't paint all viruses with the same broad stroke. I believe that viruses and pathogens originated differently. I think that I've learned to think of viruses in the context of creation and fall and redemption. And when I think about their origins, I've discovered that I think about them most often in the two contexts of creation and fall. And so I think human viruses that cause disease in humans are linked more to the fall. And I think that that's probably a result of other viruses from other species being transmitted to humans. And I also think that because we don't know where viruses originated, that I have often thought of viruses as broken down cellular machinery. Since they need cells in order to make more copies of themselves, because of their diversity, and viruses are very diverse, they have all kinds of different diverse structures and compositions, that they could have originated from many different types of cells over millennia, having broken down and then crossing species. So that's how I think of human pathogens, but I don't think of all viruses in the same context. Some viruses actually have a symbiotic effect that can actually be mutually beneficial to the host.
So we think of viruses as being part of God's good creation in some instances,
Sure.
Some of them reflecting the fall. And then, of course, we're going to talk also about the idea of redemption, that we can take part in God's plan of redemption as we handle and tackle these pathogenic organisms. This is just an overview, and we're going to unpack each of these in following episodes.